It is hot. Our legs and arms are on display from this weekend and today, and we're not really ready for it, are we? The always trim Norman Swan says the Mediterranean diet's the best for him. I've been almost carb-free and almost alcohol-free for a week. I'm eating super well. I haven't snacked, and I've only lost 1 kilo. What is going on? Why is it so easy to put on weight and so hard to lose weight when you're in middle age? It used to be so much easier in my 20s and 30s. Just stopped having a Snickers. Bang, lose the weight. Sarah Lorenzo is a nutritionist and author of the 10-10 Simple Recipe book collection, and she's here to help us about getting healthy and fit for summer in middle age. Hello, Sarah.
Hello, thank you so much for having me.
Is it about your metabolism? That's what everyone just says. Your metabolism just falls off a cliff when you turn about 40.
Yeah, it does. Look, it's the aging process. So our ability to store and release fats ages just like every part of us ages. So yes, that's so true. When you were younger, you could skip a meal, you've lost 2 kilos, and as you get older, it just gets so much harder. And also when you're going into menopause, you've got the estrogen dipping as well, so it makes it that much harder. I always say to people over life, you have to evaluate what you're eating in different times of life, because the calories you need, we just don't need as many calories as we did when we were younger. And then, yeah, it's just that it's interesting, and it's harder, and it's awful because you're hungry and
I'm hangry.
Hangry. I love that word, hangry. But yeah, it is the aging process. And I always say to people when they get around 40, just reconfigure your diet, look at what you're eating, and you probably need to shave off around 200 calories a day to be able to stay.
Do we have to count calories?
No,
it's
not
so
counting.
boring.
Oh, I loathe counting calories, but it's just perspective. So you've just got to recalibrate your diet as you age, because you really just don't need that much. That also does, that information is very general. It does actually also depend on how much exercise you're doing, what your sleep's like, what your stress is like. I think as we get older, when you're looking, Sarah, at that holistic approach, lack of sleep elevates cortisol. Cortisol will interfere with our hunger hormone, ghrelin.
Someone else said that to me, that sleep's a big factor. So as you sleep less, that also has an impact on how you hold weight.
Yes, and they call it the cortisol belly. So you tend to actually hold weight around your lower abdominal. And sleep is a very big part of it. When I see weight loss patients in clinic, one of the first questions I ask them is how much sleep they're getting a night, and how much of that is actually good quality sleep. We need around 7 to 8 hours. So I'm talking middle age, we need 7 to 8 hours a night. And I'm hard pressed to find people that are even getting that. And most people don't even get into that. A lot of people aren't even getting into that deep sleep cycle. And it makes weight loss so much harder. And when I have like shift working patients come in, we have to really evaluate that.
So you start with sleep often?
I look at a holistic approach, but definitely starting with sleep. I look at stress. I look at times of day they're eating. Are they doing fasting method? How big is their breakfast? I am such a big believer in evidence and evidence-based approach to weight loss. So
does different evidence work for different people? Like, is it personalised? Do different bodies process different foods in different ways?
Yes, that's completely true, because we have the endomorph, the ectomorph, the mesomorph. There's people there's people who can eat and they don't put on weight, and there's people
I love you, but I'm jealous of you. I used to be like that.
As you can see, we have to evaluate things. But I always look at, for me, I just look around the world at cultures and societies, and where are people healthy? What are they eating? What is their life? And all you have to do is really look at the blue zones around the world where people live to 100 and 110. What are they doing? They've got a carbohydrate dense diet, but their carbs are things like potatoes, they're homemade, but they start their day with a really big breakfast, which is logical because our body in the morning is very open to receiving glucose. So we can actually, so our cells are open. It's a circadian rhythms. This is all really interesting. And this is what I talk about in my own.
So you don't believe in the fasting thing. You believe in that old fashioned, eat like a king for breakfast. Yep. Is it? A prince for lunch and a pauper for dinner kind of thing?
I really do believe dinner should be the smallest meal of the day, and should be, as a general rule, should be a day where people absolutely avoid carbohydrates. I do believe in fasting, in low-calorie fasting, not time restriction. I find time restriction very hard for people to be compliant to, and when they come to the feeding zone. I don't like that word, but they call it. Sounds like a zoo.
Well, that's what it becomes, though.
I know, and they just get ravenous, and then they would take in like 800 calories in a meal, like a big acai bowl or something like that. And then if they'd learnt to just sort of eat throughout the day smaller meals, I've sat with people and I've said to them clearly, I don't see the 16-8 as something that I've clinically seen success with, because people are starving. I like the small kind of, the idea of 2 sort of meals a day and 2 snacks and a smaller meal. And so that's the way I talk to people. But there's just some general great guidelines you can follow.
Well, it seems that this is the way to do it, especially if it's about your health. Maybe your cholesterol's gone up or your pre-diabetes as you get older. Hi, Lorraine.
Hello, Sarah and Sarah.
It's the Sarah Show.
It's the Sarah Show.
How are you finding this for you, Lorraine? Did things slow down as you got older?
Oh, by crikey, yes. And I'm one of these people that hold my weight round the middle, which concerned me about my heart. And also my doctor said too, like, I have higher levels of sugar and higher cholesterol levels. And talking to my doctor, he suggested I go to a dietitian, and I went to the most brilliant dietitian. He's saved my life. He's changed my life. So, well, I did not know about the sleep thing. That was very interesting, Sarah, that I just heard then. So, yeah.
Can I ask how old you are, Lorraine?
I'm 68.
Yeah, and when?
And I'm. Sorry, go on.
Yeah, and when did the weight start to come on?
What
age?
Years ago. I think. It would have been around my 40s, because I remember I went to my first weight loss thing, like a Gloria Marshall, and I was in my early 40s.
Yeah.
So yes, and then I've been on and off, Weight Watchers on and off. I've never been hugely overweight, but I have been overweight to the point it did affect my health. And
that's the interesting thing. So when we look at women who sort of around their mid-40s start to gain weight, even though their diet hasn't significantly changed, that's the perimenopause starting, the estrogen starts to dip. But the big thing we start seeing is when women hit that kind of mid-50s, is we really need to start addressing our cardiovascular health. And that's what you started to see, that elevated cholesterol. I mean, one great thing about cholesterol, I work with cholesterol all the time with GPs too, is some simple dietary changes can really bring down cholesterol within 3 months. I've seen it clinically a lot.
Right.
So, and it's just as simple as including half a cup of oats for breakfast in the morning to help regulate cholesterol, to help eliminate it properly. Dietary changes that you can make. I mean, I could go on and on and on about it, but it is the age. And you know what, Lorraine, you're it's a very typical. What you've just told us is very typical.
Very typical. I think we're all in a lot of the same boat. And Lorraine weighs herself every day. Thank you, Lorraine, for the call. In terms of that, do you believe in weighing yourself every day like Norman Swan does?
Okay, so
it's frustrating.
I feel like, this is a question I've been asked so many times. I think it's unique. It's individual. I know some people who weigh themselves every day who can get into reward behaviour. Oh, I've lost a kilo. Oh, that means I can go and, that chocolate won't matter. I know people who have to weigh themselves every day because it keeps them on track. Mm-hmm. The research shows that people who do regularly weigh themselves studies have been done, they're people who generally stay around the same weight because they're proactive.
They're
about
aware of it.
For me, I would weigh myself probably once or twice a week. Usually once, but I don't like what I can feel. I'm in myself how I feel.
Yeah, you do. You get to the stage. I can't do my pants up. I think that's an indication. Not mentioning anyone by name here, but that's me. I've lost 15 kilos by following Sarah Lorenzo's program. It's so easy. I've done it in maintenance. I'm 50 and I haven't been this weight since my 30s, says Lara on my text line. So there you go. It can be done, but it's about setting up. I suppose it's about patterns too. We get into bad patterns, and that's what happened to me after I broke my ankle lying in bed eating peanut butter toast. Not gonna lie.
Is that comfort eating?
Oh, of course. And that's a factor in middle age too, right? So what do you suggest for comfort eating for people in middle age?
Okay, so there's 3 reasons why people actually will have issues with weight: boredom, comfort, and stress eating. So you have to get protocols in place. Number 1, food is nothing that we have a relationship with. If you are looking, and when you overeat, if you're compromised, you just inflame yourself and you feel so much worse after that. It's a very short-sighted way of getting comfort. So I say to my patients, instance, I want you to write down, boredom, you just have to go and, you can take up an activity. For stress and emotional or comfort eating, I say write down 6 things that you love. Be your own best friend. Is it a movie? Is it a big walk? Is it a hike? Is it getting rid of technology? Is it visiting a friend? Is it going to a gallery? And I get them to write down 6 things, and every time they're feeling compromised or looking for comfort, that watching a movie or a series, they have to pick something else. And it's a proactive exercise that you partake in, and then it will become a way of life.
What do you do when you've got 3 growing kids and a husband who loves carbs, says Hannah? This is a tricky one.
Okay, so what I call is the 3-part dinners. So what you basically do is when you're cooking at night, because I understand like teenagers, especially teenage boys, can eat people out of house and home. So when you're making a meal at night, you have the protein, you have the salad or vegetables, and you have the carbohydrates. So you just work in a 3. And then you put the carbs on the table if it's a potato bake or a risotto or a bolognese or a big pasta. And then they can eat that, and then you can still, and that way you're not cooking extra meals, and that way you can get the protein and salad and vegetables that you want with your meal, and you can do it that way. I mean, it's just, how much, and the other thing I always say to people is, how much do you really want it? How much do you want to eat healthy? I mean, sometimes you have to dig deep for a little bit of willpower.
Yeah.
When you're around people who are real foodies.
Is it different though for men and women? A couple of people are texting me, because a lot of women are saying they feel that, yes, that tummy thing, although the blokes do get a tummy too. It's a different sort of shape of tummy, isn't it?
Yes, they do. They get quite skinny in the legs, and they get the pregnancy around. No, men go through andropause. Men have a menopause, but it's called an andropause. It's nowhere near what women experience, and I can look at a man very typically, and you see these men through their whole life, they've been able to eat whatever they want. They hit their mid-50s, all of a sudden everything
Same
starts.
as women.
Yeah, visceral fat. It's all that visceral central fat around the belly, intra-organ fat, which is the dangerous fat that actually leads to heart disease. But no, men absolutely get it. So the men that could eat forever, when they were younger, it does catch up with you.
Well, Coach is 58, drives all day. I think Coach is a truck driver, is he? Yeah. He now grazes on healthy snacks like prunes, licorice and fresh fruit, and he's back to the weight he was in his 20s.
Fabulous. Congratulations. I love that. And there you've got your life back. And also remembering that healthy snacking, especially if you're sitting down all day driving around, when you've got other options of putting petrol in and grabbing some kind of other discretionary item like a chocolate bar or something, that just shows that the key to success is preparation.
Well, there's a lot of people, like Jane, 60-year-old, she's a doctor, really struggling, exercises so much, really feeling it as you get older. You have to change the way you do things, there's challenges ahead, but hopefully for summer we'll all be feeling a much fitter and healthier. Sarah Lorenzo, thanks so much.
Thank you so much for having me.
You're with Sarah MacDonald.
ABC Radio Sydney.